Hello everybody, Haku here with my review for Boku no Hero Academia Season 3, Episode 6. And this is probably the second best episode so far this season, just because I've said a lot this season that I expect a certain amount of stuff going into the episode, and every single time they've put in more than I expected, they've gone further than I've expected, plus ultra. They've just done more with the pacing and with everything in general than I have expected them to do every single week, and this was probably the most out of all that. Like, there was so much content. It was a really intense episode, and I'd say frantic, but not in a bad way at all. Frantic in the best way that it can be that way, because that's how it kind of should be. There's a very bad emergency situation going on with villains attacking the students and all that. So yeah, man, it was really, really good. I'm kind of gonna go through start to finish giving my thoughts, but there's a lot of general things to talk about here too and what they did right. But yeah, like I said before, every moment was packed with content. There were zero down moments this episode. There was something important every single second. But there's that. And I expected a lot going into it, kind of, because I've read the manga and all. But this went a lot past what I even expected. And then some things that I was like, you know, it might be kind of hard to translate that very well. So I don't know how well the anime will do with it, like Moonfish's defeat. I thought that was something that was done really well in the manga, where I was like, that's going to be a little bit difficult to animate, so I'm not sure how they're going to end up doing it. And it looked even better, in my opinion. It was really, really well done. And of course, if you're worried, don't worry. I never talk about spoilers or anything past what happens this episode. I always present it as if I haven't read the manga mostly. So either way. Another thing I loved this episode, I loved Shoji and his involvement. I like when we see the side characters get to be important and we get to see more of them. And I liked it because it wasn't one of those things where it's like, okay, you have a side character, now you get a flashback, now you can care about them. We didn't need that, we didn't get that. All of the development and important stuff for Shoji and his character, it happened as everything was going on right before our eyes. And it might not be as memorable as if we got a really cool flashback or something. Those kinds of development types. But it was still really good in my opinion. I liked him in the main role he played in the episode. The voice acting in particular I thought was incredibly good. I guess it's because the whisper probably added into it. Just the little bit of whisper in his voice I thought was good, where he's trying to keep it down so Dark Shadow didn't hear. But I thought the voice acting for Shoji was really, really good. For a lot of other characters too, I thought there were some really amazing moments. But I'll get to them as I get to them. And again, I'm talking about the original voice acting. I haven't watched the dub for this episode or anything, and it's nothing against the dub. I'm sure it is very good. A lot of people say it's very good. But the sub voices, I'd say if you are watching the dub, I would say watch both, because you've got to see the sub. The original voice acting is really, really good. So this is just one of those shows where I'm like, you should definitely watch both if you're watching the dub, just because the quality is that high. So Shoji then gives Izuku the choice, really. Well, before that, we learned that his arm is fine because he can make more with duple arms as long as he has the sort of bud that it came from, really. So he can grow his arm back. It's totally fine. And also that Dark Shadow is attacking instinctively anything that moves or any sound, which is really, really cool. But Shoji gives Izuku the choice. Okay, you know, you can stay here with me and help lure Dark Shadow back to the camp or to the fire where the light will calm it down, or I can distract it and give you an opportunity to run and go help Bakugo. So again, I really like that moment for him where he's willing to be the bait, he's willing to be the sacrifice so that Izuku can go on and do what he wants. But of course Izuku's choice is the obvious, I'm going to save both of them. But we cut away from that first to Moonfish dealing with Bakugo and Todoroki. And Moonfish's the sound and animation behind his quirk was both really, really great. There was a lot more detail than even what needed to be put in, and I respect how much detail was put in. Then I like that again explaining Todoroki telling Bakugo, don't use any blasts or whatever. We learned last week he was like, don't do it, because if more of the forest catches on fire, we're just going to be trapping ourselves, and who knows who else could get trapped if we light the forest on fire. So he was saying that before last episode. In this episode, he added even more, where Bakugo's like, well, if anything just catches on fire, just cover it with your ice. But Todoroki's like, no, all you'll be doing is creating smoke, and then we're going to blind ourselves and not be able to see where his attacks are coming from, because he has blades that can come at us from a bunch of different directions from a distance. So again, I like the logic and intelligence in the writing. And one thing, after Moonfish gets smacked down by Dark Shadow, when he's getting back up and saying, I'm the only one that gets to see these kids' cross-sections, it almost seemed like this not giving up protagonist kind of speech, because there was so much emotion in his voice. The swelling music behind him was great. I loved the emotion in the voice. Moonfish's voice actor did a really, really great job too. Dark Shadow wrecking him was absolutely incredible. Like I said, I didn't know how well it would be translated, and I think a big part of that is because in the manga it was pretty brutal. You see his back gets cut up from getting scratched. I mean, it's more than just scratched, but getting like rammed into tree after tree as a chunk of forest is being leveled, really, with this one swing, and then he gets tossed with all his teeth and stuff broken into this tree there. But no, it looked so good. It looked even better in the anime, because you could see his back all scratched up. They didn't really focus on it or anything, but he just gets torn through a chunk of forest and ragdolled into the tree. And the way the animation of him just getting ragdolled into the tree was so good. So that was done. That was done so well. Bakugo and Todoroki then save Tokoyami by using the light. I like that that sort of plays into what we saw way back in Season 2. And I like that there's a lot of things in this series that happen, especially things in the background that come back into play later, but some things that in an ordinary show, like back in the cavalry battle, we got the explanation of the dark and light stuff with Tokoyami's power, and you're like, oh, that's gonna be important immediately. And it wasn't really that important immediately. It was really important much later on, just in a anime speaking, in the next season even. So I like the way that that's all planned and explained and developed way ahead of time from when it's going to be particularly important. Then I like that Shoji's like, we don't really have time to discuss you being sorry right now, Tokoyami. We'll discuss it later. That's what you would say anyway, right? I like the facial expression animation throughout the entire episode. Tokoyami's face when he's being like really sorry that he hurt Shoji and all was really good, and that's what reminded me of this. But the facial expression animation through the whole episode was really, really good. Their plan is to cut straight across to get back to the cabin, because they can't go by where the Spinner and Magne fight is, or they're just going to draw more villain attention, and that explains why they're going to run into Uradaka and Tsuyu, because we know that they were the last group to leave, so they should be the shortest place along on the trail. So that makes that make logical sense. Then I wish there was a better way to word that one. So their plan is that explains that. I love that Bakugo is still complaining, like, oh, hey, don't protect me and all that, but at the same time, he's following along with him, he's doing the right thing, and I like how they're just ignoring his outbursts or whatever. They're like, come on, just follow behind, don't fall behind. All that was really good. Then Toga versus Uradaka and Asui. Her voice acting was way up from what I thought possible. We've seen Toga in scenes before, and her voice acting isn't bad. Obviously, it's good, but when they were doing the deeper, more serious, and kind of calm voice, it was so much better than what I expected. Like, the step up in voice quality for Toga was pretty insane, which shows a crazy range on the actress's part. And I also love how detailed her personality was in this episode. How warped it is, but how detailed the way she thinks about things was laid out for us. I like that when she cut Tsuyu's tongue and she's like, "Ah, Tsuyu, that's so cute, I'm gonna call you that too." And she's like, "The only ones who call me that are my friends," or whatever. Like, having the big heroic moment. And the warpedness of Toga's mind where she's like, oh, your friends call you that, but I called you that. We're friends now. I love this. So she just is now friends in her mind with Tsuyu, and Uraraka is warped as the term friends might be in her head. Then gunhead martial arts, again, another thing that was brought up last season that was really important this season. It was badass. It was awesome to see Uraraka get a big moment. And then we have the rant from Toga and how she likes Stain, so she wants to be like him, and Uraraka's drawing comparisons to that in her head about how she wants to be like Izuku, except Toga's just absolutely insane. But the reason she likes Stain, of course, and is trying to be like him and all of that, is because that she likes guys that are all beat up and covered in blood. So then she gets Uraraka's blood, and I love the logic that even though she sees Izuku and falls in love with him because she's like another person who's all beat up and bloody, even though she like instantly falls in love with Izuku, she still runs away because she's like, oh, there's a bunch of them here now. I'm not looking to die. No thanks. I'm out of here. So again, all of that was really great. There was a good reveal. I like the way they handled the where's Baku. I thought this is where the episode was going to end. I thought it was going to end either with Tsuyu being like, where's Bakugo? And then bam, cliffhanger. Or we get Mr. Compress revealed, and then that's where we end it. I thought either one of those, but we went way far beyond that. I think at that point there were still 8 minutes left in the episode. So again, going way past what I expected. So that was a good reveal. Compress is really, really badass. I really like that. He says he's a former entertainer. I really like that it's not really explained here, but I think it's cool that not only does he have a quirk that can take them, but also he's just bounding across trees through the sky and stuff, and we have no idea how he's doing that. So I thought that Mr. Compress is really, really cool. I think the design's cool. The voice was really good. Again, more voice acting. Izuku's voice acting. The way he was really, really frantic, yelling to give them back and everything. The franticness in his voice, that was really, really great. So Compress took Bakugo and Tokoyami to show them another path, that hero isn't the only way to go. He calls in that the mission is a success and says that there are 5 minutes to get to the extraction point or whatever. Then Twice and Dabi pass Aoyama as they're walking back. Aoyama was supposed to be carrying Jiro and Toru back to the camp. So I thought there was really, really great tension too, and it was really scary when Dabi was walking towards where he was hiding and all that. Twice's voice acting again, really great. Twice was hilarious here. And in the manga, I will say that I didn't like Twice during this arc. It was a long time before I finally was like, okay, I like Twice. Well, not a super long time, but it took a good while after this arc. But the anime already has me liking Twice. Twice is really, really cool so far. I think it's just something that translates a lot better when it's animated out, and it's easier to understand the way he speaks and sort of is constantly going back and forth and contradicting himself, whereas reading it was a little bit more difficult to me. So that's probably why. Also, Aoyama, I'll bring up that him being serious and not being a joke character for once, I actually liked that a lot, and I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. Dabi calls back Nomu, and we see that the Nomu is carrying bloody ragdoll gear, and Awase is injured running away carrying a very injured Yaomomo. Yaoyorozu is pretty messed up. She has some obvious head damage. She's bleeding a lot, and she says she can't remember what happened, but she gives an object to Awase to go and weld onto the Nomu, and I'm not spoiling anything for the future. So they do all of that, and oh yeah, the reason the Nomu turned around and didn't kill them, because it was about to, was just blind luck, because that's when Dabi called it back. And it looked like Dabi clicked something on his collar, and that's what made the Nomu come back or something. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it looked like to me. So the Nomu is heading back there, and one thing they left out from the manga, again, just to I guess help things out, in the manga there, you know how sometimes in the anime, if you don't read the manga this will help, they'll cut away and they'll have present Mike doing a narration explaining what the person's quirk is. They did one of those which are just portrayed in the anime as a little box explaining things. But they did one of those in the manga here to explain Owase's quirk, but they didn't have it here in the anime. So I'll just say that it's pretty self-evident what his quirk is, but his quirk is to physically, it's called weld, and he physically melds together two things as long as he's touching both of them, so he can fuse things together. And that's why when you see him carrying Yaoyorozu, I really like this, and it's something I didn't even notice in the manga. Her arm was like welded in up on his arm, and then of course he welds the object she gives him into the Nomu. So that was really cool. What was up next? Then Magne and Spinner, we see that they were captured. We see more of Tiger's quirk. We get to see that he's basically, what is it, Mr. Fantastic, I guess, or Elastigirl from The Incredibles. So yeah, that's basically his quirk. Again, they have one of those boxes that explains it and stuff, but I think they didn't do the two cutaways to the present mic narration here this episode because it was kind of a tenser, darker moment each time, and they were probably trying not to break the tension with present mic's voice just yelling the explanation of their quirk. So that's probably why they didn't do it here, and also both of their quirks are a bit self-evident in the scene. And we already know the name Playa Body of Tiger's quirk. Then after that, Kurogiri shows up. They specifically bring up that we don't know Spinner's quirk yet, so that's cool. Kurogiri shows up to bail them out. Uraraka and Tsuyu throw Izuku, Todoroki, and Shoji. Then Toga arrives at the extraction point where Dabi and Twice are already there. So there are 3 out of the 10 villains that showed up at the extraction point. And then I love Toga's conversations when she's returning and all that, where they're like, oh, did you get blood? They told you we need at least 3 people. She's like, I only got 1, but it's cool. I made some friends. I found a guy I'm interested in. So Toga's completely messed up and I love it. And then Compress comes flying into the ground as he's basically pounced on by Shoji, Izuku, and Todoroki. So now, for next week, we have a standoff brewing between Shoji, Izuku, and Todoroki, and Izuku's already pretty damn injured, versus Compress, Dabi, Twice, and Toga, with Nomu on the way. And so there's those 5, Mustard, Muscular, and Moonfish, the 3 M's. The last time we saw each of them, they were taken out. Again, not spoiling anything. Who knows if they'll be fully taken out or not. And then the other 2, Spinner and Magne, we don't know what's going to happen with them, but I would assume and guess that Kurogiri's probably going to get them out there because Kurogiri's OP, and it seems like I've not seen his quirk in a situation where it ever seemed very stoppable. Like, even during the USJ incident, he was kind of OP. They caught on to him a couple times, but even then he always managed to get out of it relatively easily. So, yeah, Kurogiri's pretty OP. I'm expecting him to just get those 2 out of there. Yeah, I thought the episode was amazing in every way. Like I said, I loved Twice in the anime already. Voice acting was one of the best parts. And one of the other best parts is that the pacing to me was blisteringly fast, but not a thing felt rushed. Not a thing felt skimmed over. There was so much constantly happening, but everything always happened really in depth, and everything felt important. So it was all really, really good. It's something that I said about Tower of God in the past. I don't know if anybody's reading that, because it's kind of a similar shonen thing. But this sidebar won't be very long. But I said that before with that a couple arcs back, where I was like, the pacing is blisteringly fast. We're just running through things in the story, and yet at the same time, everything feels detailed. Nothing feels skimmed over or rushed. And that's what I would say for this season. Season 2 was that way a bit too, but Season 3 so far has been even more so, where there is constantly always something happening. We're just burning through so much content really, really quickly. And no, I'm not worried at all about it catching up too far to the manga at all. So that's not why I'm saying it like this. But yeah, it's just so much content every single episode, and we're really lucky to be getting it that much. But we're also lucky to be getting it not rushed or skimmed over. All of it is really, really detailed and good. So yeah, I actually, for this one, I don't want to just give out perfect scores like they're candy, But I want to give this one 10 duple arms out of 10. I want to give this one a perfect sword just because there was so much content. There's so much I could go back and rewatch and enjoy from this episode that from a normal episode of any other TV show or anime or anything I'm covering, there's typically not this much in a single episode. So yeah, just because we got so much and everything we got was extremely high quality, 10 out of 10. I loved it. So either way, hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this week's episode, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe if you want to for more of both the anime and the manga on the channel. I do reactions to the manga and a review of the anime. I do a review of the anime because, like I said, I've already read the manga, so I feel like my reactions wouldn't be that great since I already kind of know what's happening. And I try my best to stay as spoiler-free as... Well, not necessarily spoiler-free. I try to stay spoiler-free in general with titles and thumbnails, but when I do the stuff for the manga, I try to take into account, I'm like, I don't want to put anything in the title or thumbnail, if at all possible, that might ruin anything for anime-only watchers. So I do keep that in mind, too. Also, for Twitter, if you want, you can follow on Twitter, and I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or I can talk to you there. Or if you want to, you can talk with me or more of us that watch my videos, or whoever else is on my Discord. You can come talk to us on Discord if you want. I give a link to basically anybody who wants it. So if you want a link to Discord, just ask and I can give you one. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.